Welcome back to the Deep Dive, powered by your daily English dose.
Great to be here.
Today, we are here to tackle, well, probably the biggest challenge for every English learner, right?
Getting things to stick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How to get those new words, those grammar rules,
Yeah.
to actually stick in your brain so you can, use them when you need them instantly.
Yeah, and our mission today is pretty straightforward. We're kind of ditching the old habits, the comfortable ones that maybe don't work so well.
The ones that waste time.
Right. And we're diving deep into the actual science, the brain science behind learning, so we can switch to strategies that genuinely make English stick. Smart strategies.
Okay, let's start with the main project, because I think everyone listening, they know this feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
You spend hours maybe reading notes, highlighting vocabulary lists. You feel like, okay, I got this.
You feel productive.
Exactly. But then you're in a real conversation, or maybe it's a test, and poof, the word is just gone. Why? Why does that happen? It's so frustrating.
It really is. And there's a name for it. Scientists call it the illusion of mastery.
Illusion of mastery, okay.
Yeah, it's a really tricky feeling because when you read your notes over and over, the information starts to look very familiar.
Right, you recognize it.
Exactly. Your brain goes, oh yeah, I've seen this word before. I know this. But, and this is the crucial part, simply recognizing a word is totally different from being able to recall it. Actually pulling it out of your memory and using it correctly when you need it most. That's a different skill.
So we feel confident just because it looks familiar, but that confidence is kind of fake.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's misleading. And the data on this is pretty stark, actually. It shows just how, let's say, dangerous this passive rereading habit is.
How bad is it?
Well, research consistently shows that people who rely on passive methods, like just rereading or maybe simple highlighting, they only remember about 29% of the material over the long run.
Only 29%. Wow.
Yeah. But here's the good news. If you switch to active strategies, that retention rate, it almost doubles, jumps way up to around 57%.
Okay, 29 to 57%. That's huge.
It's massive. It really means we need to stop just, sitting back and passively absorbing. We need to start actively working our brains.
That's a really powerful reason to change things up. So if we want to make that jump from 29% to 57% retention, what's the single most powerful strategy? Where should we start right now?
Okay, the number one most effective technique is called the testing effect.
Or you might hear it called active recall.
Active recall, okay.
The core idea is this: the act of testing yourself, trying to remember the answer. That's not just checking what you know. The test itself is the learning tool. It's incredibly powerful.
So testing is learning. It's not just assessment.
Exactly. The effort, the struggle you make to retrieve that piece of information, that's what actually builds and strengthens the memory.
Okay, but why? Why is that hard work of testing so much better than just comfortably rereading my notes? It feels easier to just read them again. Right, it feels easier. Think of it like this. Memory is like a pathway, or say a road in your brain.
Sure.
If you just passively read your notes, it's kind of like watching someone else drive down that road. You see it, it's familiar. But active recall forces your brain to actually, build that road itself, or maybe lift the weight, to reconstruct the information without any help from the notes.
Okay.
And that struggle, that feeling of, ugh, I know this, it's on the tip of my tongue, that's the magic moment. That effort strengthens the pathway, making it easier to access later.
So the struggle is good.
The struggle is essential for long-term memory, and this isn't even a new idea. Way back in 1620, the philosopher Francis Bacon pointed out that trying to actively remember something, say, 10 times, was much better than just passively reading it 20 times straight through.
Wow, 1620. So the hard way really is the right way here, because that effort strengthens the connection.
That's the core principle.
So how can English learners put this active recall into practice, like simple actions for vocabulary learning?
Okay, flashcards are a classic for a reason, but they must be used correctly.
How so?
Question first, answer second, always. Cover up that answer side and force yourself to try and remember before you peek.
Right, no cheating.
No cheating. Another fantastic technique is the brain dump, or sometimes called free recall.
Brain dump.
Yeah. After you study a set of words or a grammar point, close your book, put everything away, grab a blank piece of paper, and just try to write down or say out loud everything you can remember without looking.
Oh, I like that, because it instantly shows you exactly what you didn't learn properly, the gaps.
Exactly. It highlights your weak spots immediately, which is super valuable information for your next study session.
Okay, that's quite spontaneous. Is there something a bit more structured? You mentioned the 3R method.
Yes, the 3R method: read, recite, recall, and review. It's very
Okay,
systematic.
break it down.
First, you read the material, maybe a chapter, or your list of words just once, carefully.
Okay, read.
Second, and this is the active part, you close the book or notes and recite or recall. Try to summarize the information out loud in your own words if possible. Explain it to yourself.
Recite. Caught it.
Then, and only after you've tried to recall it yourself, you review. Open the book again and check what you remembered correctly and, crucially, what you missed or got wrong.
Ah, so that recite step is the active recall part. If you skip that, you're just back to passive rereading.
Precisely. That middle step is non-negotiable for making this work.
And I guess we shouldn't just stick to the same easy tests, right? We need to make them a bit harder over time, like lifting heavier weights.
Exactly right. You need progressive difficulty. Don't just stop at the easy clues. For instance, simple flashcards might just be English words poeg, your native language meaning. That's a start, but it's relatively easy. You need to gradually move to harder tasks, maybe seeing a whole sentence in your native language and trying to produce the natural, correct English phrase for it.
Oh,
That's much harder recall.
so challenge yourself.
Yes. If your memory test feels too easy all the time, you're probably not strengthening the memory as much as you could be.
Okay, fantastic. So strategy number 1, active recall. We know how to study effectively now, but what about when to study? Because, even if I use active recall, if I wait too long between sessions, doesn't the memory just sort of leak away, that forgetting curve thing?
Ah, yes, the famous Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. And it's absolutely real. Our brains are designed to forget information quite rapidly if we don't revisit it.
So what's the fix?
The solution is the second core strategy: spaced repetition. Or you might hear it called distributed learning or distributed practice.
Spaced repetition.
It simply means reviewing the information at gradually increasing intervals, longer and longer gaps between reviews.
Okay, so let's say I have 10 hours total to study for a test. You're saying cramming all 10 hours in on Saturday is actually less effective than doing, say, 1 hour a day for 10 days.
Much, much less effective. Spaced repetition consistently outperforms cramming or massed practice in scientific studies. It's one of those robust findings in learning science.
Okay, but why does spacing it out work so much better? Is it just seeing it more times?
That's part of it, but there's a deeper reason. It's something called contextual variability.
Contextual variability. Sounds fancy. What does that mean for a learner?
Okay, think about it simply. When you study the same word or grammar rule repeatedly over different days, maybe in different places, like at your desk today, on the bus tomorrow, at a cafe on Friday, and maybe even when you're in a slightly different mood, you're essentially giving your brain more and more diverse situations or contexts linked to that information.
Okay.
So if you only study a word 5 times in 1 hour sitting at your desk, the memory for that word is strongly linked just to that desk, that single context.
Right.
But if you space it out today, tomorrow, next week, your brain creates stronger, more flexible, and more diverse connections to that word. It's like building multiple roads to the same destination.
Ah, so it makes the memory easier to access in any situation later on, not just when I'm sitting at my desk thinking about studying.
Exactly. It makes the memory more robust and usable in the real world.
This sounds like something technology could help with. People talk about spaced repetition software, SRS apps like Anki.
Yes, SRS apps are fantastic tools because they automate this whole spacing process. They use algorithms, mathematical rules, based on the forgetting curve.
How do they work?
They basically schedule when you should review a particular piece of information, and they aim to show it to you right at the optimal moment of forgetting.
The optimal moment of forgetting.
Yeah, it's that sweet spot where remembering the information is difficult, it takes some effort, but it's not quite impossible. You can just about retrieve it.
Okay.
Making that effortful retrieval at that specific moment is what really maximizes memory consolidation.
Consolidation. That's the process of making the memory permanent, right?
Exactly. Moving that new English word or rule from your fragile, temporary short-term memory into your stable, long-term memory storage. SRS helps manage that timing perfectly. Some studies even show that using SRS for just, say, 3 minutes a day can significantly boost long-term vocabulary retention, maybe even triple it compared to less optimal methods.
Wow, just a few minutes for that kind of gain. Okay, so we have active recall for how to study and spaced repetition for when to study. Let's talk about the depth of learning. Why is just memorizing a word list, even with SRS, sometimes not enough for real communication?
That's a great question, because Isolated vocabulary lists often fail in the real world. They lack, well, they lack real-world context.
Context.
Right. We need to move beyond just holding the information. We need to learn it deeply. This involves something called elaborative rehearsal.
Elaborative rehearsal. Okay, what's that?
It means actively connecting new English words or concepts to things you already know, linking it to your existing knowledge, your personal experiences, maybe creating mental images.
Making connections.
Yes. Your brain remembers interconnected information, pictures, and structures much better than just isolated facts or words on a list. Using things like visual tools, maybe concept maps to link related words together, that's fantastic for this kind of deep encoding.
And that brings us back to context. You're saying context is absolutely essential.
Absolutely critical. Context is the surrounding environment, the sentence, the situation, the conversation that gives a word its actual functional meaning.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Take a simple word like funny. Without context, you have no idea if it means haha, amusing, or strange or odd.
Right. That's a funny joke versus that milk smells funny.
Exactly. The context tells you the specific meaning. And crucially, context also teaches you collocation.
Collocation, which words naturally go together.
Yes. You learn through context that you play a leading role in a movie, or you make a mistake, or you do your homework. You don't typically perform a leading role in the same way or perform a mistake. Learning words in isolation doesn't teach you these natural pairings.
Okay, so context is king. What are some practical, actionable strategies for learners to focus on context?
Okay, number one. When you encounter a new word in a sentence or paragraph, try to guess the meaning from the context first, before you rush to the dictionary.
Resist the urge to look it up immediately.
Yes, that little bit of effort in trying to figure it out, even if your guess is wrong, actually helps your brain engage more deeply and primes it to remember the correct meaning when you do check it.
Okay, guess first. What else?
Second, and this is huge, record the full context. Please, do not just write down the single word and its definition in your notebook or flashcard app.
What should we do instead?
Always write down the entire sentence or phrase where you found the word.
Ah, okay. Why is that so important?
Because when you review it later, using active recall or SRS, you're not just recalling the word, you're recalling it within its natural habitat.
Yeah.
You're reinforcing the meaning and the usage pattern, the collocations, all at once.
That makes a lot of sense. It forces you to see how it actually works.
Exactly. And third, use multimodal learning. Embrace different types of input.
Multimodal, like
Yeah.
different senses.
Yeah. Use videos, for example, to get crucial visual context. If you're learning the word shallot, don't just read the definition. Watch a cooking video where someone actually chops a shallot. You see it, you hear the word, maybe you see the recipe text.
Okay, visual context. What about audio?
Podcasts are great. Use transcripts if they're available. Listen to how the word sounds, see how it's spelled, and again, focus on the full phrase or sentence it was used in. Write that down. Combining sight and sound with the contextual sentence is very powerful for encoding.
Great tips. So we've covered the big cognitive strategies: active recall, spaced repetition, deep encoding through context. But our physical state matters too, right? Our body and biology play a huge role in memory. Let's talk about sleep. How on earth does sleeping help me learn English?
Sleep isn't just downtime for the brain. It's actually peak work time for memory. It's when your brain works incredibly hard to consolidate memories.
Consolidation again, moving them to long-term storage.
Exactly. Taking those fragile memories of the English lesson you just had and filing them away properly, making them stable and durable. Sleep is essential memory maintenance.
Is there a specific time when this sleep-related memory work is most critical? Like, does it matter when I sleep after studying?
Yes, very much so.
Yes.
There appears to be a critical window. The evidence strongly suggests that the first few hours after learning are the most important for this consolidation process.
Really? The first few hours?
Studies have shown, for instance, that getting even just 3 or 4 hours of sleep relatively soon after a learning session is significantly more beneficial for memory retention than waiting, say, 15 hours before sleeping.
So pulling an all-nighter to cram before a test is a terrible idea.
Absolutely. One of the worst things you can do for memory. You're essentially skipping that crucial consolidation window. Your brain doesn't get the chance to properly file away what you crammed in, and you end up maximizing memory loss, even if you feel like you learned it temporarily.
Wow. Okay, huge takeaway. Study, then prioritize getting some sleep reasonably soon after.
Definitely. Sleep is not optional for effective learning.
Okay, what about moving our bodies? Exercise. How can going for a run possibly help me remember English vocabulary.
It might seem disconnected, but exercise has profound effects on the brain, particularly on learning and memory. Aerobic exercise, especially, helps your brain become more adaptable, more plastic,
Neuroplasticity.
right? And it boosts the production of key brain-boosting proteins. One famous one is BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
BDNF.
BDNF is like fertilizer for your brain cells. It's crucial for the growth of new neurons, strengthening connections between them, and basically supporting the underlying machinery of memory formation.
Interesting. So when is the best time to exercise for memory benefit? Should I do it before I study or after?
Actually, the research suggests both timings can be effective, possibly for slightly different reasons.
Oh,
Exercising before a learning session seems to improve things like focus, attention, and how quickly you process information. It gets your brain warmed up and ready to learn.
okay. Exercise before to prime the brain. What about after?
Exercising after learning seems to be particularly good at promoting that crucial memory consolidation process we just talked about with sleep. It helps lock in what you've just learned.
So maybe a walk before studying and another one after.
That could be ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But even short bursts of activity around your study time can be beneficial. You don't necessarily need to run a marathon. Just getting your heart rate up can help maximize your brain power and learning efficiency.
Fascinating. Okay, so we have active recall, optimal timing spacing, deep encoding with context, plus the biological support of sleep and exercise. That feels like a complete toolkit. Is there one final piece?
There is. It's the overarching skill that ties everything together. It's becoming the director, the manager of your own learning process.
Okay.
It's called metacognition.
Metacognition. Thinking about thinking.
Exactly. Thinking about how you learn. It's arguably the key skill that separates the most successful independent language learners from those who struggle, because it helps you constantly monitor your own progress, understand your own strengths and weaknesses, and crucially, it helps you defeat that illusion of mastery we started with.
How does it defeat the illusion?
Because you're no longer just passively accepting that feeling of familiarity. You're actively questioning it. You're asking yourself, do I really know this, or does it just look familiar? You become your own personalized study coach, making adjustments based on real evidence of your learning.
So how does a learner actually practice this? How do you become your own study coach using metacognition?
It works well if you think about it in 3 simple phases: planning, monitoring, and evaluation.
Okay, planning first.
Before you even start a study session, take a moment to learn. Plan. Ask yourself, okay, what's my goal today? What specific words or grammar points am I focusing on, and which strategy am I going to use? Am I going to focus on active recall with flashcards, or maybe deep context learning by reading an article and writing down sentences? Consciously choose your method.
Makes sense. Be intentional. What's next? Monitoring.
Yes, monitoring. This happens while you are studying. You need to constantly check your understanding. Ask yourself, am I truly recalling this information without help, or am I just recognizing it on the page? Be honest. If you're using an SRS app, this is where you need to be really truthful when you rate a card: easy, good, or hard. Don't just click good because you recognize it quickly. Did you actually pull it from memory?
That honest self-assessment is tough, I imagine, but crucial.
Very tough, but essential for the system to work. And the final phase.
Evaluation.
Yes, evaluation. This happens after your study session, or maybe after a practice test or a quiz. Look at what you got wrong. Ask yourself why. Why did I fail on that particular word or grammar rule? Was it because the review interval in my SRS was too long? Did I learn it without enough context initially? Did I not do enough active recall practice?
And then use that information.
Exactly. Use those answers, that feedback, to adjust your strategy for the next time. Okay, I need more context for these types of words, or I need to shorten the review interval for this really difficult grammar point. This constant feedback loop, plan, monitor, evaluate, adjust, is what makes you an autonomous, highly efficient learner.
That really ties it all together beautifully. Okay, so that brings us towards the end of this deep dive. Let's quickly recap the core elements for super fast, efficient English memory.
Sound good?
We need active recall, testing yourself constantly to strengthen that memory road.
Effortful retrieval.
We need optimal timing using spaced repetition, fighting that forgetting curve by reviewing at the right moments.
Right. Spacing beats cramming.
Yeah.
Every time.
We need deep encoding through context and elaboration, connecting new words to what we know and learning them in real sentences, not isolation.
Giving the words meaning and usability.
And overseeing it all, guiding our choices, is metacognition, being our own learning director, planning, monitoring, and evaluating our progress.
Spot on. And don't forget the biological foundations prioritize that: sleep for consolidation and incorporate exercise to boost brain health.
Absolutely.
The ultimate goal here is really shifting your mindset,
Mm.
moving away from that comfortable passive approach that feels easy but doesn't stick, and embracing these more intentional, sometimes more effortful, but scientifically proven methods.
It's about working smarter, not just harder.
Exactly. When you start integrating these steps, active recall, spacing, context, metacognition, plus sleep and exercise, you really transform how you learn. You stop just being a student following instructions and become a highly efficient, autonomous language learner, optimizing your own brain for English fluency.
Fantastic advice. Thank you so much for breaking down the science into such practical steps.
My pleasure. Hopefully it helps.
I'm sure it will. And thank you all for diving deep with us today. Remember to subscribe to your daily English dose for more tips and strategies to make your English learning journey faster, more effective, and maybe even more fun. We'll see you next time.